And this one is solve x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 0 by completing the square. So I'm going to take my variable, I'm going to place next to it 5 divided by 2, which is half of the coefficient of x. Do not include x with the 5 halves. Then you square this quantity. Now if you multiply this part out, this will give you an extra 25 over 4 at the end. That is not present in x squared plus 5x. For that reason, you have to do minus the square of the 5 over 2. In other words, minus 25 fourths. And then you keep the 3 added and set it equal to 0 the entire time. After this, you gotta work out the fraction here. So it's going to be x plus 5 halves squared minus 25 fourths. We write that 3, so there's a 4 in the bottom. So in other words, it's going to become this quantity right here. Take a look. 12 over 4, because 12 divided by 4 gives back to 3. And then set equal to 0 the entire time. Now, negative 25 plus 12 will give you negative 13 over 4, equal to 0 still. Then I'm going to take the 13 over 4 and move it to the right side with addition, so it will become x plus 5 halves squared equals 13 fourths. The next step here, because you have a quantity squared on the left side, you just take roots on both sides. So I'm going to do that up here. I'm going to say x plus 5 over 2 squared equals the root of 13 over 4. And now let's take roots. I'm just going to put the root symbol in here like this, put the root symbol like that. On the left side, the root symbol and the square cancel off. So all that will give you on the left side is x plus 5 over 2. But on the right side, you will have plus or minus. And you have the root symbol being applied to this fraction, 13 over 4. So let's review a basic operation of the root symbol, which is the following. That when you have the root of a fraction, you can distribute the root to the top and the bottom individually. In other words, you can write this. X plus 5 over 2 equals plus or minus the root of 13 over the root of 4. So I took, at the previous step, the root of 13 over 4, and I'm writing it as the root of 13 over the root of 4. Distribute the root symbol to the top and the bottom individually. Then after that, I'm going to have the following here. X plus 5 over 2 equals plus or minus the root of 13. The root of 13 is a messy quantity, so we'll leave it in that form. But in the bottom, I'm going to take the root of 4 to get 2. And then I take the 5 halves from the left side, where it's being added to the x, and move it to the right side with subtraction. So x will look like 5 halves negative, plus or minus the root of 13 over 2. And now this can be written a couple different ways. So for example, you could write it as x equals negative 5 over 2 plus the root of 13 over 2. Or the other way, you have to also work on a negative between them. So it's going to be also x equals negative 5 halves minus the root of 13 over 2. To go back to the previous one for a second, where you have negative 5 over 2 plus the root of 13 over 2, you can also write that as a single quantity over a single bottom, that is, because the bottom's already the same. So you can say this is negative 5 plus the root of 13 over 2. And over here you can say that x equals negative 5 minus the root of 13 over 2. So then, for example, this could be considered an answer, and this one right here on the right side could also be considered an answer.